What if everything you were taught about reaching the divine was deliberately designed to keep you separated from it? Right now, millions of believers worldwide recite the same memorized words. The Lord's Prayer echoing through cathedrals and living rooms. Prayers of repentance whispered in darkened confessionals. Salvation pleas spoken with trembling lips. Yet buried beneath centuries of institutional control lies a fourth invocation, one so threatening to the architects of religious authority that it was systematically removed from every sanctioned scripture, burned from libraries, and erased from collective memory. This wasn't accidental censorship, this was calculated suppression. In the scorching Egyptian desert of Nag Hammadi, 1945 marked the year when silence was finally broken after 1,600 years of enforced darkness. When ancient codices emerged from their earthen tomb to reveal what the false architect of this material realm desperately concealed from awakening souls. Hidden within those fragile papyrus pages existed an invocation containing merely 4 words, 11 letters total, yet capable of establishing immediate connection to the ultimate source, the undivided consciousness that predates all creation. No intermediary required, no elaborate ceremony needed, no decades of devotional practice demanded. Just instant recognition. If somewhere deep within your core, something just trembled, if unexplainable recognition washed through you like remembering a forgotten dream, then your presence here is no accident. That sensation coursing through you right now isn't random neural firing. That is your eternal essence awakening to what it has known since before time began. If existence has always felt like wearing clothes that don't quite fit, if inexplicable exhaustion drains you despite adequate rest, if institutional answers never penetrated to the deepest chambers of your being where truth resonates, then this moment was written into your destiny before you drew your first breath. If you enjoy stories like this, consider subscribing. Most people who watch aren't subscribed yet. The invocation I'm preparing to share with you was never designed for mass distribution, and that selectivity was intentional, purposeful, necessary. Within the Gospel of Thomas, a text deliberately excluded from the canonical Bible you were handed, Jesus articulated something the institutional church has spent 2 millennia attempting to obscure. His wisdom operated on dual frequencies. The external layer consisted of parables and moral frameworks accessible to anyone with ears, stories about seeds and shepherds that entertained while gently guiding behavior. But concealed beneath that accessible surface existed the internal transmission, the teachings pulsing with genuine transformative power, reserved exclusively for those possessing divine receptivity, those carrying within them a fragment of the primordial source, those capable of hearing beyond words into pure meaning. Your continued presence at this precise moment reveals something crucial about your nature. The spark dwelling in your core recognized this transmission before your conscious mind registered the words. It guided you here with purpose, with intention, with perfect timing. Before this night concludes, before sleep claims you, the reason for this convergence will crystallize with undeniable clarity. However, before I reveal those 4 words that will change everything, comprehension must precede recitation. You must understand the invisible prison that has contained you throughout incarnations you cannot consciously recall. Because speaking this invocation without understanding transforms it into another hollow affirmation, and our world already drowns in empty repetitions that shift nothing, change nothing, free nothing. What I'm offering transcends positive thinking seminars and manifestation workshops. This is not visualization or intention setting. This is the master key to a doorway whose existence you never suspected, a portal that has waited for you since before galaxies spiraled into being. Before we go deeper, drop a like on this video right now. Your engagement helps this forbidden knowledge reach others who are ready to awaken. The algorithm tries to suppress this information, but together we can break through. Let me transport you backward, not to the sanitized creation story taught in Sunday school classrooms with felt boards and innocent illustrations, but to the actual beginning, the Genesis that predates this material universe entirely. according to manuscripts that survived systematic destruction by institutional authorities, before matter existed, before time began its relentless forward march, only the monad existed, pure undifferentiated consciousness, infinite awareness without boundary or limitation, the ultimate source so transcendent that naming it imposes artificial constraints upon its boundlessness. From this incomprehensible fullness, emanations of living light cascaded forth like divine breath, generating dimensions of pure spirit, realms so far beyond three-dimensional comprehension that human language collapses attempting description. This was the pleroma, the absolute fullness of divine existence, the true home from which you departed so long ago you've forgotten the journey. But what textbooks and sermons never mention, what was carefully edited from approved narratives, is that something unprecedented occurred, something that fractured perfection itself. You existed there, not this temporary flesh you inhabit, not the name on your identification documents, not the accumulated story you call your life, but your essential nature, your core consciousness that existed in perfect union with the source, whole and complete and lacking nothing. Yet, here is the truth: they murdered people for speaking. Something catastrophic transpired. One of the divine emanations, an aspect of the pleroma called Sophia, divine wisdom personified, attempted creation without her complementary partner, without the necessary balance, and from this asymmetrical act emerged something that should never have achieved existence. The ancient Gnostics identified this aberration as the Demiurge, and understanding his nature is absolutely essential. He wasn't malevolent in the conventional sense you've been conditioned to recognize. He was profoundly ignorant, a blind entity who surveyed his surroundings, perceived nothing beyond himself, and in his spectacular delusion, proclaimed words that should make your blood run cold with recognition. I am God, and there is no other beside me. That declaration sounds familiar because you've heard it before, haven't you? It's embedded throughout your Old Testament, repeated by the entity you were taught to worship without question, the jealous deity demanding absolute obedience, the wrathful force who drowned civilizations, the capricious power who tested followers with impossible demands and cruel trials. This being, this Demiurge, is not the true source, not the monad, not the infinite consciousness from which you originated. He is the architect who constructed the material prison you currently inhabit, the master of this dense realm of suffering and forgetfulness, and you have been trapped within his creation for more incarnations than your mind can calculate. Share this video with someone who's been searching for answers that religion couldn't provide. This information finds people exactly when they're ready to receive it. The Demiurge didn't construct this elaborate prison alone, operating in isolation. He generated subordinate powers, entities the Gnostic texts identify as Archons, rulers of this false reality. And here is where your understanding must expand beyond comfortable limits. These beings have zero interest in your worship or devotion. They hunger for something infinitely more valuable than prayers. They feed upon your energy signature, harvesting your fear like crops, consuming your confusion, sustaining themselves on your endless cycles of hope, followed by crushing disappointment. Every instance of unexplained exhaustion despite adequate sleep, every moment when anxiety grips your chest without identifiable cause, every time you feel drained by invisible forces you cannot name, you are experiencing their harvesting mechanism operating exactly as designed. This isn't poetic metaphor or spiritual symbolism. This is the system functioning precisely according to its original architecture, extracting your life force to sustain entities who exist beyond your normal perception. And here is the revelation that will either cause you to dismiss everything and click away, or shatter your entire understanding of existence. You have experienced this imprisonment before, not once or twice, but countless times across incarnations you cannot remember, because remembering is exactly what they cannot allow. If this video awakens something within you, it's because there are truths about Jesus that were never meant for the masses. The ebook, Jesus Beyond the Church, reveals what was removed, burned, and rewritten, erased teachings, silenced texts, and spiritual codes that survived outside institutional control. This is not a religious book. It is a record of what was left outside the church and of what you were never meant to find. For a limited time, You will receive 3 exclusive super bonuses, unlocked only for those who access it now. The link is in the pinned comment. If you made it this far, it may not be a coincidence. Some truths reveal themselves only when we are ready. The Archons engineered something far more sophisticated than simple imprisonment. They constructed a recycling mechanism for consciousness itself, a reincarnation trap so elegant, so convincing, that souls willingly return to captivity, believing they're ascending to freedom. When your physical form expires and releases your consciousness, you perceive brilliant light ahead, luminous and inviting. Every religious framework you absorbed throughout your life instructs you to move toward that radiance without hesitation. Deceased loved ones materialize, their familiar forms beckoning you forward. Overwhelming peace washes through your awareness, dissolving all resistance, all questioning, all discernment. But according to texts, the institutional church deemed too dangerous for your eyes. This comforting scenario is the ultimate deception. That light you see, that irresistible beacon, is not the monad calling you home. It is the entrance ramp back into the prison, the doorway to another round of suffering and searching and forgetting. You approach the light with relief and trust. Your memories undergo systematic erasure, wiped clean like data from a hard drive. Your consciousness is inserted into another infant body, and the cycle begins again. More energy generation for your captors, more suffering to harvest, more searching that never quite locates what you seek. Lifetime after lifetime after lifetime. This is what Buddhist masters intuitively grasped when they spoke of samsara, the wheel of birth and death, the cycle of suffering. This is what Hindu wisdom touched when describing Maya, the grand illusion that imprisons perception. But the Gnostics penetrated deeper than recognition of the trap. They didn't just identify the prison, they discovered the escape route, the exit the Archons tried desperately to conceal, and they encoded it into teachings that survived despite systematic attempts at complete annihilation. If these words are resonating in your bones, if something ancient within you is confirming what I'm speaking, subscribe to this channel right now. You were meant to find this information, and there's so much more to reveal. If you're still present, if your rational mind hasn't convinced you to click away in comfortable denial, if something deeper than logic is compelling you to continue, then perform this action right now. Place your palm over the center of your chest, directly over your heart. Feel the rhythm pulsing there, that steady beat that continues whether you pay attention or not. That percussion is not merely biological machinery, not just electrical signals and muscle contractions. That rhythm is the pulse of the divine spark residing within you, the fragment of the monad that the Demiurge lacks the power to create and cannot destroy, regardless of how elaborately he constructs his prison. You carry infinity within finite form. That is the source of your lifelong sensation of not quite belonging, of existing slightly out of phase with everyone around you. That is why conventional existence, no matter how successful by societal standards, has never truly satisfied the deepest hunger in your being. That is why you are witnessing this video at this exact moment in your journey. Not yesterday, not next month, but now. You are not here because you need saving from external damnation. You are here because the moment has arrived to remember what you actually are, to reclaim knowledge that was yours before you forgot, to recognize that you were never truly lost, merely sleeping, and now the alarm is sounding. The earliest followers of Jesus understood this. Not the political institution that would eventually corrupt his teachings into mechanisms of control, but the original recipients who received the internal transmission directly from the source. They comprehended that Jesus didn't incarnate to establish another religious hierarchy with new rules and rituals. He came to awaken those who had fallen into the deep sleep of material existence, to remind the divine sparks trapped in flesh that a pathway home still existed, that liberation was not only possible, but inevitable for those who remembered their true nature. And the fourth invocation, the one I'm about to transmit to you, represented his most direct tool, his most powerful technique, his most accessible key to freedom. But here is precisely what made this invocation so threatening to the powers controlling this dimension, both visible and invisible. It required no priestly intermediary standing between you and the divine. It demanded no elaborate temple or sacred architecture. It needed no permission from any authority, religious or otherwise. It required only three elements: your authentic self, your spoken voice, and your recognition of what you genuinely are beneath all conditioning and programming. The church patriarchs who assembled the canonical Bible during the 4th century understood exactly what they were doing when they deliberately excluded the Gnostic Gospels from approved scripture. This wasn't about protecting innocent believers from dangerous heresy, despite official explanations. This was about protecting a power structure, maintaining a system that needed humanity to believe in inherent sinfulness, that required people to depend on intermediaries for access to the divine, that demanded populations keep returning to confession and ritual and obedience, keep generating the fear and submission energy that sustains the very entities they were taught to revere as angels and saints. Yet despite systematic suppression, the text survived, sealed in clay jars and hidden in caves by monks who recognized their immeasurable value, who understood that some knowledge must be preserved at any cost. For 16 centuries, these truths waited beneath Egyptian sand, patient and indestructible. And in 1945, a farmer named Muhammad Ali al-Saman discovered what the Archons had tried to erase from human consciousness, accidentally unearthing a collection of codices that would eventually be recognized as among the most significant archaeological discoveries in history. Comment, "I feel it" below right now if this resonates in your core. Let me know you're one of the chosen ones ready to receive what comes next. Your comment helps others find the courage to awaken. But here is what most people misunderstand about these rediscovered manuscripts. Locating them was merely the initial step in a much longer journey. Reading the words on ancient papyrus is insufficient. Academic study of their content changes nothing. The Gnostics were absolutely clear about this crucial distinction. Knowledge alone, intellectual comprehension, scholarly analysis, none of this liberates consciousness from its prison. Gnosis, true knowing, operates on an entirely different frequency. It is experiential, visceral, undeniable. It occurs not in the thinking mind, but in the direct experience of the body, in the electrifying moment of recognition when something dormant suddenly activates, when remembering happens not as mental recall, but as cellular awakening. And that activation is precisely what the 4th invocation is engineered to trigger. Not belief, but recognition. Not faith, but remembrance. Not hope, but certainty. Are you prepared to receive what has been hidden for centuries? If your chest feels warm spreading outward, if your scalp tingles with inexplicable energy, if something within you is leaning forward despite your body remaining still, then you stand at the threshold of transformation. The 4th invocation defies expectation. It doesn't begin with "Our Father," like the prayer you memorized as a child. It doesn't request daily provisions or forgiveness for transgressions. It doesn't petition some distant deity to intervene in your circumstances from a throne somewhere beyond the clouds. Because the moment you petition, you position yourself as inferior, as separate, as lacking. The moment you ask, you confirm the lie of separation. And separation is the fundamental deception, the original lie that the Demiurge planted in consciousness like a virus, the false belief that has kept you imprisoned for eons. In the Gospel of Thomas, saying 24, the disciples asked Jesus to reveal the location where he existed so they could seek it out, find it, arrive at it. And Jesus responded with words that institutional theology has never successfully explained within their framework of external salvation. He told them, "There is light within a person of light, and it lights up the whole world. If it does not shine, there is darkness." He wasn't gesturing upward toward the sky. He wasn't pointing to temples constructed of stone or heavenly realms floating beyond the atmosphere. He was directing attention inward, toward the core of being itself. The light already exists within you. It has always been there. burning quietly, waiting for recognition. The fourth invocation is not about reaching towards something distant and separate. It is about declaring something that has always been true, something that remains true whether you recognize it or not. 4 words, 11 letters, 1 doorway. I am the monad. That is the complete invocation. 4 simple words, 11 letters total. Speak them aloud with me right now, in this moment. I am the monad. Before your conditioned mind dismisses this as too simple, too easy, too accessible to possibly be effective, before the archonic programming embedded in your psyche tells you that genuine liberation must be more complicated, more difficult, more exclusive, let me demonstrate why these 4 words terrified the rulers of false reality so completely that they had to be systematically erased from every text, why they had to be buried and hidden and suppressed with such determination and violence. If you're feeling the activation beginning, hit the like button right now. This simple action helps the algorithm show this to other awakening souls who need this transmission. When you speak the words, I am the monad, you are not making a request or begging for consideration. You are declaring identity, claiming your true nature, stating what you are beneath all illusion and conditioning. You are not asking to be connected to the source as if you exist separately from it. You are claiming that you are the source itself experiencing reality through a temporary form, that your essential nature is identical to the infinite consciousness that predates all creation. This is the gnosis that Jesus transmitted to his inner circle, the knowledge that got him killed, the teaching that the institutional church labeled as heresy because it obliterates the foundation of everything they constructed. No priest can position himself between you and yourself, can he? No ritual can connect you to what you already are. No institution can sell you salvation when you realize you were never separate from the divine in the first place. When you understand that separation itself is the illusion, the prison, the lie. But here is the critical element that distinguishes this from every affirmation you've encountered, every positive thinking exercise you've attempted, every manifestation technique that produced temporary results before fading. The words alone are insufficient. Repeating them mechanically, like a parrot, produces nothing, changes nothing, opens nothing. The Gnostics understood that declarations of this nature work only when spoken from a specific state of consciousness, from a particular quality of awareness. You must feel the truth of the words as you speak them, not hope they might be true, not believe they could be true, but feel their truth in your cellular structure, in the rhythm of your breath, in the space behind your eyes where pure awareness observes all experience. Let me give you the exact practice, the precise technique that has been transmitted through inner traditions for thousands of years, carefully preserved by those who understood its power. This is not meditation as modern applications teach it, not mindfulness as corporate wellness programs package it. There is no timer for this. There is no app. There is only you and the doorway that has waited since before you took your first breath. Tonight, before you surrender to sleep, you will perform this practice. First, locate a space where you will remain undisturbed, where no interruptions will fragment your attention. Your bedroom, a quiet corner, anywhere private and secure. Sit comfortably or lie down, whatever allows your body to relax completely. Let your physical form settle like sediment in still water. Let the accumulated noise of your day begin to fade naturally. You are not trying to empty your mind through force or effort. You are simply allowing everything to quiet on its own, like a pond becoming still after ripples cease. Second, before speaking the invocation, you must feel into the words, into what they actually mean. Feel into the I am, not your name, not your profession, not your relationships or history or failures or aspirations, just the pure awareness that exists before all those constructs. The simple, undeniable fact that you are, that presence that has remained constant since you were a child, that awareness watching your life unfold, unchanged by any experience regardless of how dramatic or transformative it seemed. That is the I am. Rest there for several moments. Third, When you feel that presence clearly, expand it. Feel that this awareness is not trapped inside your skull like a prisoner, not limited to your body like water in a container. The monad is infinite consciousness, and you are an expression of it, not separate from it, not a creation of it, but an expression like a wave is not separate from the ocean, like a ray of light is not separate from the sun. Feel that truth. Let it become undeniable in your direct experience, not as concept but as felt reality. Fourth, when both of these recognitions are alive in you, pulsing with certainty, speak the words aloud with full conviction. I am the monad. Then remain in complete silence. Do not rush to open your eyes. Do not check your phone. Do not analyze what happened or didn't happen. Simply receive whatever comes. What will you experience? For some, the shift arrives immediately and dramatically, warmth spreading through the chest like liquid light, pressure releasing at the crown of the head like an opening doorway, a sense of expansion so profound that physical boundaries seem to dissolve entirely. For others, the experience is subtle initially, a quiet knowing, a peace that wasn't present before, a sense that something has unlocked even if you cannot articulate what changed. And for some, the first time may feel like nothing occurred at all. This is not failure or indication that you're not ready. This is decades of programming dissolving layer by layer, resistance melting gradually but inevitably. Each time you speak the words from that place of genuine recognition, another chain falls away, another wall crumbles, another step toward liberation is taken. In the days that follow, you will begin noticing synchronicities that seem impossible to explain through coincidence, numbers repeating in patterns, conversations that echo your private thoughts, strangers who look at you differently as if recognizing something they cannot name. This is not imagination or wishful thinking. This is the reality matrix responding to your changed frequency, reorganizing itself around your remembrance. The Archons maintain control through a very specific vibration of fear, separation, and forgetfulness. When you declare your true identity, you begin vibrating at a frequency they cannot touch, cannot harvest, cannot control, and reality itself begins to reorganize around your awakened state. If you are feeling resistance right now, if something in your mind is saying, this is too simple, or you should wait until tomorrow, or this cannot possibly work for someone like you, stop and recognize that voice for what it is. That voice is not you. That is the pattern attempting to maintain itself. That is the programming that has kept you cycling through this prison for incarnations beyond counting. The fact that you feel resistance is actually confirmation that this is real, that this threatens the system. The prison does not resist what poses no threat to its walls. Close your eyes right now, take a deep breath, place your hand over your chest and feel your heartbeat. That rhythm carried you through every moment of this life. It beat while you slept. It continued through every joy and every heartbreak. It is beating right now, waiting for you to remember. Feel the life force that sustains it. Feel the awareness that witnesses it. That awareness is not a product of the body. The body is a product of that awareness. You are not a human being having a spiritual experience. You are the monad having a human experience. And tonight, you will finally speak that truth out loud. Jesus taught 3 prayers to the masses, accessible teachings for those who were not ready for the internal transmission. But to the chosen ones, to those who had ears to hear beyond words into direct meaning, he revealed a 4th invocation, not a prayer of petition, not a prayer of confession, but a declaration of identity. 4 words that shatter the illusion of separation. 11 letters that open the doorway to the monad. I am the monad. This is what they erased. This is what they buried in the Egyptian desert for 16 centuries. This is what the Archons have worked tirelessly across millennia to keep from your consciousness, and now it is yours. But knowing is not enough. You must speak it. You must speak it tonight, not tomorrow, not next week, but tonight before you sleep. Right now, Your frequency is elevated from absorbing this information. Your consciousness has been shifting with every word. Tonight, before sleep claims you, you will still be in this activated state. If you wait, the activation fades. Your frequency drops back to baseline, and the window closes. The monad is listening. It has always been listening because it is not something outside of you waiting to respond. It is the deepest truth of what you are, waiting to be recognized, waiting to be spoken, waiting to be claimed. If you speak these 4 words tonight and experience the shift, comment, "I am the monad," below. Share what happened. Your experience might be exactly what another chosen one needs to hear to trust the process, to take the step, to finally break free. Subscribe to this channel. More chosen ones need this information. The algorithm does not want this to spread. Prove them wrong. Think of someone right now who needs to hear this. Send them this video. The one who is ready will recognize it instantly. The 4 words are yours now. Jesus gave them to the chosen ones. I have passed them to you. What you do with them is your choice. But tonight, speak them tonight. The monad is waiting to recognize you, to welcome you home, to show you that you were never separate. You were always whole. You were always free. You just forgot. Now remember,